Hello, it's Dr. Darnise coming on live, Sunday evening live stream. I'm a little bit late to my own live stream. If you're on my newsletter list, then you saw that I said I was coming on at 5 today, Eastern Time. Um, but I got delayed because I was on the phone with a client and we got a little bit delayed. Plus, I had to, you know, do some stuff to get on here. So hello, hello, hello. Welcome into Friday or Sunday live stream. I am shuffling the cards. I always like to start with a collective reading, just to kind of set the tone. We'll be talking about elevating consciousness today, mindset, elevating consciousness towards our spiritual awakening, right? So these conversations are, applied spirituality rather than me just sort of lecturing about a topic as I can. As a professor, I can easily go into my let me just teach you about a topic thing. But I don't really want it to be that. I mean, there might be a little bit of that because I can't help it. But I want it to be applied spirituality too. So we'll be talking about elevating consciousness and mindset and spiritual awakening. So as I say that, I am shuffling the cards to see what we as a collective are kind of vibing with. How are we vibing on this Sunday evening? And you write in the chat, let me know who's here. Let me know you can hear me okay. All that good stuff. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Really just getting started here. Let's see. We have a Ace of Swords. Ace of Swords. So the suit of swords in the tarot is ideas and thoughts. So it's like the intellectual capacity that we all have. So an Ace of Swords means that there's a new idea coming through, a new insight, some clarification coming into your life, or our lives collectively. What's the fresh idea? What's the new idea? What's fresh? What are you thinking about? Ooh, well, I don't like this card. Three of Swords. It depends on what comes next. Three of Swords. So, like I said, the swords are about thoughts and the things that we basically worry ourselves with. So, this looks all bad, right? Heartbreak, heartbreak, or what are we worrying ourselves about? In what ways are our own thoughts causing us grief? Are we worried? Are we overthinking? Because those swords, overthinking, that might be me. And what comes next? So death to that, right? You're like, what kind of reading is this? Well, the death card is really about change, transformation, inevitable change and transformation, right? Inevitable transformation. So death card could mean like, okay, how do we transform this? We're due to transform this. Here's the good news, actually, what's coming to me right now intuitively is once we get clear, once we really decide that we want a new way of thinking, then we transform this, right? The death card says transform this. You don't need to be in your head overthinking. You don't need to be torturing yourself. So think again, transform that, right? First card said you get a new idea. So yeah, so the next card is the Judgment card, which is a major arcana card, which means, death card is also major arcana. So big themes, right? Big themes. The Judgment, this is also resurrection. You can see that these people are rising up out of what looks like coffins. So they are called into new life, right? So you have the death card and now you're called into new life and you have a new idea here. So see, it's encouraging us because it's like you have something that maybe is going away or needs to transform with the death card. And then the Judgment says, get up again, right? Get up again. Time to start again, right? Here's your new idea. Start again, start again, start again. So it's not bad. And then the hermit reminds us to do our intuitive work. And maybe we need a time of being alone. Maybe we need to do our own private solo introspection. That could be what that is. So I'm going to leave it there and just say, whatever has been, maybe tormenting, let that go. Let that transform. Let that transform. And let a new thing be born. Let a new idea be born. Yep. Which is actually kind of a good segue. It's kind of perfect for what I said I wanted to talk about this time, which is about mindset, elevating our consciousness. Like I said, I just got off the phone with my client, and she's been going through a lot of different challenges. She's very entrepreneurial, but she comes from a place of self-doubt, as many of us do over time, self-doubt and concern and worry. Can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? Even though the universe has given her a great idea, the universe has given her great vision. And so she and I are going to partner on this, since we're both in the health and wellness, um, general, kind of category. She's doing bath and body and wellness kind of products. I'm obviously all about that. Anyway, so she has this great idea, download it from spirit, right? Download it from spirit. But she has such self-doubt that she's not been able to do it for like probably a year. She and I have been working for a long time together. And she's made tremendous progress, because today we're on the phone and she was telling me what exactly she's doing. Like, this is exactly what I'm doing now. And, that's what I want to talk about is when we get an idea, like think of the chakra system. Think of your chakra system, right? So there's seventh chakra up here, your crown chakra, and all of the chakras that go all the way down to the root chakra, right? Here's your third eye. Here's our throat chakra. Here's our heart chakra. Our midriff area is our solar plexus. And then we have the sacral chakra in the pelvic area, and then the root chakra at the tailbone. And that is literally how we transform spirit into matter. I'm not sure if you ever thought about that. Hi, Michelle. I see you over there. Hi, Michelle Graham. Literally, the way we take an idea and make it manifest in the world is turning spirit into matter, right? We get an idea. Where's that card? Here's the idea. Our job in the physical is to transform an idea, right, the non-physical, into the physical. How do we do that? It comes down through all of the chakras in the body, and then we, like physically give birth. If you've given birth to a child, right, you literally take the spirit of an entity that does not exist in the physical yet, and a woman holds the baby within her, transforming it into a human, and then the baby is born into the world. Well, think about it as an idea also. What idea do you have that's trying to be born through you? What idea do you have that is trying to be born in you and resurrected, because you might have buried it because you had fear and doubt? Maybe you had some heartache around it before. I tried, it didn't work. I tried, it didn't work. I tried, it didn't work. I tried, it broke my heart. Time to get up and try again. Brush yourself off and try again. What's that song? What's that song, Michelle? Brush yourself off and try again. Okay. That is how we create in our physical world. So we go from mindset, how we think about a thing, to actually making it so in the world. People ask me all the time about manifestation tips. How do I manifest? How do I manifest? What's the best way to manifest? Well, that was Aaliyah. Thank you. We're manifesting all the time. The point is, are we manifesting deliberately or by default? Because if you're on the default plan, you're just going to get what you get, because you're not really focused on what it is you want to get. You're just like, well, I'm just waiting for this, or I just want to be happy. But you don't have a plan, you don't have a strategy, nothing. But a person, when you are, spiritually aware, spiritually mature, you realize I am creating my own reality and I get to determine what I actually bring forth in this life. How am I going to take my idea and make it a real thing? How am I going to take my idea and make it a real thing? That's a spiritual process as it comes down from the second chakra all the way to the point where we are giving birth to it. So, and Michelle, you got that book in you. So I'm not going to call out everybody I know in here, but but you have that book in you and you got to give birth to it, man. You got to give birth to it. Okay. So, and I was going to just mention this book here that I often use. And if you join me on It's Like Destiny, you're part in the what? You're part in the future. I'm going to mention this book, which I have mentioned before on this channel, Outwitting the Devil. This is Napoleon Hill. And y'all know Napoleon Hill for Think and Grow Rich. Everybody knows Napoleon Hill for Think and Grow Rich, but this was a sequel that he did to it in 1938, The Secret to Freedom and Success. And some people are going to be scared by the title. But really what he's saying in this book, he's still talking about mindset. Napoleon Hill is still talking about mindset and how it is that we manifest and why we don't manifest. So the book is really like this sort of, it's designed as sort of an interview with the adversary. It's an interview between Napoleon Hill and the adversary. And the devil is saying, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to do much. I don't have to do much to stop somebody from their, from whatever it is they're trying to manifest. All I have to do is insert fear. All I have to do is get them to think about something else, which he calls drift. Let's see, where is it? How do you gain control of the minds of people? So it's Q&A. Answer. Oh, that's easy. I merely move in and occupy the unused space of the human brain. I sow the seeds of negative thought in the minds of people so I can occupy and control the space. So really think about the adversary, not as any particular being, right? We're not talking about a supernatural being that, Christianity talks about. We're talking about the adversary as a negative mindset. Adversary is someone who comes against you, like a prosecuting attorney, right? The adversary is something or someone that comes against you. And so Napoleon Hill is having this kind of fictional conversation, like, what is it that stops people? It is a mindset problem or a spiritual problem because you don't feel yourself connected to your higher source. You don't feel yourself connected to your higher source. So we have all the fear and doubt, right? Which is normal because we are here in the 3D in our physical bodies and we have fear and doubt. If there's uncertainty, we want certainty. What if I do this? And what if it doesn't work? And what if I don't make any money? And what if people laugh at me? And what, so it's natural to have the fear and doubt. But as we spiritually mature, we come to understand, oh no, that's just adversarial thoughts. That's not really those adversarial thoughts don't mean anything more than what I give them. Do I allow my own adversarial thoughts to run away with me? Do I allow my own adversarial thoughts to stop me? Because now we do the reflection, right? We do the inner work, which is what happens when you are on a spiritual path. A mature spiritual path is you're willing to do the inner work. It's not about saying that, some minister or priest has all my answers. We have to do the inner work. The inner work says, I'm creating this stuff within my own head that's keeping me from succeeding or from being spiritually connected to my own higher self or to God. We can't really say that we're connected to God or higher self if we stay in fear all of the time, because then we can't hear any guidance. if you'd rather stay in the heartbreak, and so some more people have come in. I pulled some tarot earlier. If you'd rather stay in the heartbreak, then you won't get the new idea. See, when I say this, why I say I do a reading for the collective, because it all starts to make sense together. If you rather stay in the heartbreak and what happened and didn't work out right before, you won't hear the judgment of new life. Let's try again. You won't hear it. So God can continually be sending you messages. God can continually send you people to help you. God can continually send you assistance and new ideas, and you won't hear it. And you know that's how we are, because we get so distracted, right? And we don't always fill our minds up with positive things. Think for a moment about be mindful about what you take in as a spiritual practice. Maybe we can take this on as a spiritual practice. Be mindful of the kinds of things that you allow in. What kind of things, what kind of music do you listen to? What kind of movies do you watch? What kind of TV shows do you watch? What kind of outside stimulation do you allow in? Because if you're allowing things in that just sort of recreate fear and doubt and uncertainty, then yeah, you're not going to hear the voice of God. You're not going to get your inner guidance, because you're like allowing all of this discord. And the voice of God is the still small voice, right? The voice of God is a still small voice that gives you a little nudge. You have a dream about something. But a lot of people, you know what they do first thing in the morning? Hope it's not you. They pick up their phone immediately. That means you're checking in with some other thing before you even check in with yourself and the divine guidance that you may have gotten. Right? That's a perfect time when you first open your eyes in the morning. It's a perfect time to check in with the divine guidance that has been coming to you all night as you slept. And first thing, before you look at anything, before you look at news, before you check to see, whatever's on your socials, don't check that stuff first. You got to set your own inner compass before you start looking at whatever is going on in whatever part of the world. We have to do that for ourselves. So I don't know, is anybody willing to take that on? I always ask my students to do this. They're Gen Z, 19, 20, 21 years old. I always say, look, this is a challenge. I'm giving you a challenge. Can you give yourself a buffer of at least 5 minutes, if not more, at least 5 minutes before you start looking at anything else? And maybe because you're on here on my channel watching me, maybe you're accustomed, maybe you already have a morning meditation routine. You already have something where it helps you get your mind right before you go out in the world, because it's so important. And think of it really as a spiritual practice, because it's allowing you to connect spiritually before other things start coming in and reminding you or fooling you into thinking that you can't do what it is you want to do. Right? So take in instead like music, that you like, music that's uplifting, art, nature. Right? I was just talking to my client, as I said, and I said, I'm so interested, I'm so inspired by people with, I don't know, YouTube channels or whatever they're doing, who are really following their own passion. And there's a guy who's just, he records himself on what he calls a catwalk. And so he just goes through his neighborhood meeting cats, whatever the neighborhood cats are, like not really strays, I guess, but neighborhood cats. And so he keeps seeing the same cats every day he goes out for his walk. And so he started filming himself and uploading it to YouTube. Interacting with nature, interacting with the squirrels that you see, interacting with, right? These are the little things that sometimes we forget are our cue, our key to plugging back into spirituality. Remember in the movie, The Color Purple, or if you read the book, remember in The Color Purple, Celie and her sister, they're out walking, her sister Nettie, and they're walking through the field of purple flowers. And Nettie says, is this actually Celie and Nettie, or is this uh, Shug Avery. It might be Shug Avery, not Nettie. Yeah, she's older, so it's Shug Avery. And Shug Avery says, I think it pisses God off when we don't notice the color purple. Right? So in terms of like raising consciousness, looking for ways to be more spiritual, people ask me for all kind of advice all the time on how to be more spiritual, how to connect spiritually, how to manifest better. And I give people that kind of advice and consultation and everything, but some of this stuff is really basic. And when you think about the way people practice hoodoo, you use the natural world, you use what was at hand, you kept it simple. We're out here always looking for the grand idea, for, I don't know, the second coming of Jesus, right? We're out here looking for the huge thing, like God is going to come knock on our door and say, yes, you. When really, God is always talking to us, the still small voice. Okay, but how distracted are you? What do you have going on where you can't hear the still small voice? To what extent is your mind filled with what I'm gonna read again? Okay, how do you gain control of the minds of people? Oh, that's easy. I merely move in and occupy the unused space of the human brain. I sow the seeds of negative thought in the minds of people so I can occupy and control the space. Question: you must have many tricks and devices by which you gain and hold control of the human mind. Answer: to be sure, I employ tricks and devices to control human thought. My devices are clever ones too. Go ahead and describe your clever tricks. One of my cleverest devices for mind control is fear. I plant the seed of fear in the minds of people, and as these seeds germinate and grow through use, I control the space they occupy. The 6 most effective fears are the fear of poverty. Listen up, y'all. Listen up. The 6 most effective fears are the fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. Right? The first one, fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. And so those are the things that stop most people right in their tracks from trying anything. The fear of poverty and the fear of criticism. In my experience in working with people as a coach, those things right there, fear of not being good enough, fear of poverty, and fear of being criticized by others are the things that keep most people from doing their big thing. What is it that you need to give birth to in this life, in this world? What is it that you really need to are trying to give birth to? And then you think about the fear that's keeping you. Right? So spirituality does not, I'm trying to make it practical for us. Spirituality does not need to be something that we're reaching for, right? Reaching for outside of ourselves. Spirituality is, how am I meeting the divine within me? Do I hear the voice because I make time and space for the voice? Do I hear the voice of the divine because I make space and time for it? Or am I cluttering up my mind with a lot of nonsense? I mean, most of us, we're on social media, we're doing all the things right, but there's got to be the time that we make to expand our own consciousness. So that means we have to be deliberate. And at some point, you got to turn off the movie that's all violence, right? The shoot 'em up, the murder mysteries, like all of those things. At some point, you got, okay, if I'm not going to give them up because I like those movies, let's say, then I got to balance that, make sure I have meditation also. I got to make sure that at some point during the day, I'm going to have some meditation, because I can't just be out here putting only that stuff in here. And then you think about the music that you listen to. What is the music that you listen to on the regular? What is it talking about? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll? Am I even allowed to say that on YouTube? Let me see. I always jot down notes for myself, and now I can't read them. Ooh-wee. This one is awakening your goal, because I'm talking about these things, assuming, spiritual awakening is your goal. In your spiritual practice, is the goal to awaken and mature? Now, that's a mature question to ponder and answer, because some people are really, they might even think they're about spiritual maturing, but what they're doing is they're in the habit of doing the same thing, like going to church, going to their temple, their mosque, wherever they go, and that's all they do. I don't know, some people, it might, what do you mean that's all they do? Some people as their spiritual practice, the only thing they do is go to church because they've been doing it out of habit, or they go to a temple, whatever this place is. But are you in your spiritual path in order to awaken? Because if you're on the spiritual path to awaken, then you have to do some stuff yourself. You have to really be mature. You have to really step into being intentional, having a strategy, doing the work, so to speak. Like, I don't, work, not a job. It shouldn't feel like a job when we're talking about spirituality, right? But we've got to be intentional about what this is. Spiritual awakening means I am waking up from the matrix. I'm disengaging from the status quo. I don't do things the way that everybody else does them. I am not asleep at the wheel of my own life. I've decided that I'm going to wake up in my own life. Here's a metaphysical secret. It's not really a secret, it's an open secret. Here's a metaphysical truth. Why are we here? What is the meaning of life? Anybody want to say, what do you think is the meaning of life? Because I always tell people, I know the meaning of life. You might not believe me, but what is the meaning of life? The meaning of life, one, is what we give it. Learn the lessons, Sacred Cycle says. Learn the lessons. That gets to be part of it. But there's sort of one overarching kind of theme of life, purpose of the human experience. And that one overarching purpose is for us to awaken. The reason we are here in these human experiences to awaken. Awaken to what? Awaken to the fact that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Because most humans are dead asleep in their own lives. Most people are moving through life on the default plan, and they're even happy about it. Remember the red pill and blue pill in the movie The Matrix? Most people are comfortable being asleep, so they don't really want to awaken. Given an opportunity, people will stay asleep. People will stay in their comfort zone. To say that you want to have a spiritual awakening means that you are willing to be uncomfortable. Y'all remember The Matrix? Neo. He is the quintessential hero, right? Representing every person, right? Neo. He has to go through some challenges, right? Sacred Cycle has to learn the lessons of who he is. What is really the main point of Neo's life in the Matrix is to come to the realization that he is what? The one, right? He is the one. And so Morpheus and everybody else around him is showing him all these signs and wonders and showing how he can do this now if he steps into who he really is. Very similarly, for y'all Star Wars fan, it's the story of Luke Skywalker. It really is the story of every hero. So if you're a writer, if you write movies, if you write books, whatever you write, it's always the hero archetype. We're all on the same journey of awakening. Now, what pulls us through, like Michelle, you said over here, purpose and passion, what pulls us along from the time we're born to the time we take our last breath is okay, what is my passion, right, pulling me along in this life? Because if I follow my passion, I am going to have that awakening. If I follow my passion, that means I am tuned into the divine voice within me. Because it takes a lot of introspection to even know what your passion is. A lot of people I talk to, because people come to me as their coach, they want me to kind of like tell them all these things about themselves, right? They want me to tell them how to be happy. They want me to tell them what's most important for them. And I'm like, no, those are things you have to be able to answer for yourself. You have to identify your own passion. People show up to me all the time and their first response is, I don't know. They don't know. I don't know what my passion is. I don't know what my purpose is. Well, it's because we're disconnected from source. We're disconnected from the divine voice. We're disconnected spiritually. So we can't hear it. And people stay plugged in and got the earbuds in. They're just staying plugged in. You're just like constantly taking in other things. And before we had devices, it was still like a Walkman or the television, right? We had our distractions before the internet, right? But now it is that we're so inundated and bogged down with so much noise that we can't hear our own passion. We can't hear the divine guidance. And then we feel it. And then we feel it. We feel it as depression, anxiety, anger, resentment. We start lashing out at each other. People are fighting each other. The world is divided, right? Because people are empty on the inside, looking for what to do, what's going to make me happy, what's going to make me happy. It must be those people's fault over there that I'm not happy. We see so much of that, right? Scapegoating. Scapegoat that group over there because they must be the reason why I'm not happy. No, no. It's an inside job. Happiness is an inside job. Deciding that you are about your spiritual awakening means taking the time to quiet the noise at some point in the day. Got to quiet the noise, reconnect with your spirit so that you can understand what your purpose and passion are. Right? And then sacred cycles, you said learn the lessons. Okay, here's where your answer comes in. So now you got your purpose and your passion, right? You're like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do. But then here come a few hard knocks. Here come the hard knocks. What are the hard knocks about? The hard knocks are about helping us mature and really own who we are. Own it. Who are you? Who are you for real? Because if I throw a wrench into the plan and you don't succeed the first time, are you going to remember what is the purpose of life? What is that purpose of life? I'm here to awaken from the matrix. So I take everything as a test or an example that I'm supposed to awaken from the matrix. Some things can make me go back to sleep. It's much easier to go back to sleep, isn't it? Just coast in life. Just go along in life. But once you have, and I'm going to ask you, how did you get interested on this spiritual path? What's your thing? What was it that caused you to have an inkling that you had, I don't know, some spiritual interest? Because once you have that inkling, that's like the angels and God are talking to you. They're whispering in your ear, and you find you're like, what's that? And sort of not hearing it at all. You go, what is that? I keep hearing the voice. What is that? I wonder what that is. Or you feel that nudge. And then you can't let it go because it won't let you go. Now that the angel, your own higher self, has your attention, and it says to you, Michelle, write this book. And you're like, okay, I'm going to write a book. And then you encounter some things along the way that make giving birth to the book a little more challenging. Just life stuff. Just life stuff. You got a regular job. You got to figure this out. You got to do this or that. Yeah, that's the learning the lessons part. That's the learning the lessons part. Yes, you, like the angel is saying, yes, you. I meant you. You're going to write this book. Me? Yes, you. You're going to write this book. And if you don't do it, I'm just going to sit here on your shoulder for the rest of your life, whispering in your ear, write this book, write this down, write this down, write this down. So when you really start to wake up spiritually, you're like, oh, this isn't going away, is it? So we go back to Matrix, the Neo in the Matrix. He had all kind of obstacles thrown his way, right? He has Morpheus is his mentor, but Morpheus takes him through. He's got all these challenges, all these fights he has to get through. It's not like he meets Morpheus and Morpheus waves a magic wand and he goes, oh yeah, that's right, I am the one, thanks. No, the trials and tribulations come, right? Sacred cycles. The trials and tribulations come. And then it's this process, and then he meets other mentors along the way who are like, oh yeah, I see you. Yep. You are supposed to be the one writing that book, right? The trials and tribulations. And then though, if you're really paying attention, because this is what it is to be spiritually awake is you begin to see signs and synchronicities. Come on, somebody. You begin to see signs and synchronicities. You begin to get, oh yeah, somebody else told me about that once before. Oh yeah, somebody told me to go watch that movie. Somebody told me to go read that book. Oh yeah, somebody told me to go over there. It could be something like somebody told me to go to this new hair salon over here and I've been meaning to go, or this barbershop. I've been meaning to go. And you're just like, whatever. Then finally you go and you're like, oh my gosh, that's why they've been telling me to come over here because I met so-and-so. Signs and synchronicities. But it is a spiritual practice to be able to recognize that we are always having these little nudges. We're always having guidance to say, turn left here, turn right there, go here. I'll tell you a story about like literally turn left, turn right on the street driving. This is when I was still living in LA. Where was I? Ooh, what part of town was this? Michelle, what part of town was this? I don't even know what it's. I want to say maybe a part of Culver City. I'm going to say it's a part of Culver City if you happen to know. It's some place though that I don't go that often, and so I had only gone like maybe once before. Anyway, I had deleted the address from my phone. I don't know, y'all. I didn't have the address. Okay. Somehow I did not have the address and I couldn't find the address and I needed to be at this place at a certain time. So I said, well, I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to try to remember because I did kind of remember, like I know up to a certain point. And then after a certain point, it's fuzzy. It's fuzzy. Right. So I'm going to get in the car and I said to my own higher self, you're going to have to show me where I'm going because I don't really know. So I'm in the car and I'm driving and I come to the place where I have to make a left or a right turn. I'm at a light. I'm approaching the intersection, right? So you're approaching the intersection. You got to either get in the left lane and make a left turn, or you got to go right. And it's LA. It's a lot of traffic. It's a busy street. So there's no time to just be hanging back. Like, what do I do? So I said, let me just tune in. I said, okay, girl, I told you I'm gonna need you to tell me which way do I go, left or right? I turn off the music. Which way do I go? She said, go right. I said, going right. And then it was a while and I was like, I don't know. Because then I'm like, I don't know if this looks familiar. And I went on and I was like checking in with her still, right? And I wasn't getting any message like make a U-turn or, I wasn't getting any message like that. So I just kept going. And lo and behold, I got to the point where it looked familiar. I said, oh yeah, now I remember where I am. It's on the left. It's coming up on the left. So that's a very literal example, but really we live in that kind of figurative spirit, well, a spiritual space all of the time. And I'm giving you an example of even figuratively in our own life in every aspect of life. Check in. Okay, Sacred Psycho says, once I started to slow down in certain situations, things started to become clear. Now I pay close attention when I get signs. I love it. Exactly. Exactly. Because once you really start paying attention, you realize that the universe is really talking to us all the time. It's us who disconnect, right? Because we're too busy. And sometimes we're not busy with nothing except ruminating on whatever previous heartbreak we had, and I mean heartbreak not just in love, but oftentimes that's a big doozy. I'm never getting a relationship again, right? But it could be a heartbreak or a disappointment around anything. And then because of this, we shut off. We don't trust our own inner guidance. This is the Hermit card, right? That lantern that he's holding is to represent your own inner guidance, right? The Hermit means go off by yourself, pay attention to your own inner guidance, right? So we don't get it. We spend so much time talking about what we're not going to do, but also praying to God for help. This is the thing. We pray to God for help all the time. And then we're like, nothing is coming. Meanwhile, signs and synchronicities are everywhere. And then when you find it, when you start to pay attention and you really get in the flow of it, you're like, wow, this happens all the time. I can trust this for more and more, right? I can trust this for more and more. If I turn into my inner guidance, this is helping me to elevate my consciousness because I'm understanding that I'm co-creating with the whole universe. I am co-creating with the universe because I can say a thing and watch for the signs and synchronicities. Getting my mindset right, like, right, you get your mindset right where you're expecting the universe to talk back to you. I'll give you another example. I have a shopping cart situation that always happens in the grocery store. And I always tell the story because it's so true and it still happens. It still is my reality. I go to the grocery store. First of all, I do not like grocery shopping. I just don't. I do not like going to the grocery store. Anyway, I went today. This means that I always go in, I'm go in and come out, which means I don't need no cart, right? I don't need a cart. Let me get a little hand basket and let me pick up a few things and get out of here because I hate being in the grocery store. Okay, you know what happened, right? I get in the store and I need more that'll fit in that little basket. Happens 9 times out of 10, right? So then I'm in the store looking for a cart. I don't want to go all the way back to the front. Too much in that basket. Exactly. It's too much. And now it's I can't hardly carry it. And I don't want to go all the way back to the front of the store. But so I start looking for a cart. You know how sometimes there's an abandoned cart? It's an abandoned cart, right? And so then you got to look around and see, well, is anybody attached to this cart? Maybe they just walked off and went down the aisle or something. So now me and my higher self, it's a funny thing. I just tell her, girl, I need a shopping cart. You already do. She probably laughing. I already know you need a shopping cart. You the only one that don't know you need a shopping cart. So it happens like clockwork. It happens immediately. I'll be like, sometimes I don't even get it out of my mouth. That's the honest to God. Sometimes I don't even get it out of my mouth. I'll just be like, I guess it'll be an empty cart. And one time at what was it, Thanksgiving? It was either Thanksgiving or Christmas. The worst time to be in the grocery store. So it was crowded. And I said to myself, now let's see, girl, because it's crowded in here. And I don't know if it's going to be just a straight cart because there's a lot of people in here. She showed out. She gave me 2 carts. She's like, try me and see. What? So I'm saying that to say, play with it in your own life. Play with it as a spiritual practice. Do I allow the divine to talk to me? Do I make a space for the divine to talk to me? Am I receiving? Do I follow the guidance I get? Or am I always in a mindset that says, I don't see it, I don't have it, I don't know, I can't? Because if you're in that mindset, you'll walk right by an empty cart. You'll say to yourself, oh man, I should have got a card. Now I can't do this, or now I can't do that, or there's no cards, there's no cards, there's no cards. And guess what? You won't see a card. I announced to her, I need you to show me where my card is. I need you to show me where my parking space is. And she, I think she get tired of me. But anyway, so the secret is that I am sharing with y'all today, and then I'm probably going to get off of here. The meaning of life is our spiritual awakening. And the secret is the power is within us. We have to awaken to the power. And you can take an example like Neo from the Matrix or Luke Skywalker from Star Wars. You can take any, some the superheroes are good for that, like Superman. They come to realize at some point, like they're just like an every person, an ordinary person, and then they have something happen in their life where they get a challenge, and then they have to figure out that they're somebody special, and then they have to go on this sort of journey, right, to really integrate who they are. Right? They have to, and it's the human experience. That's what we're all doing. I hope you're able to see it, because it's so rampant in all of our stories. These are called archetypes. And the reason they're called archetypes is because they are these images that are apparently shared in the human consciousness. They're shared in the human consciousness. And so when we see the story of the hero, we all know what we're looking at. We all know, okay, here's somebody who's special. They think they're ordinary, then they become special. They realize that they're special. They have the obstacles. What does she say? The trials and tribulations to learn the lessons. And then at some point, they master the situation, right? So with the Matrix, we get, how many matrices are there? I don't know, 2, 3, I don't know. We get more, and then we see Neo has grown into who he is, and now he understands that he is indeed the one. Right? And then he's flowing with it, right? He knows how to do, right? Luke Skywalker, there comes a point when he knows, okay, I am now a Jedi Knight. I am. You can, insert so many kind of characters. You might not have thought of him as a character, but Jesus himself. That's why the story of Jesus is what it is. People try to debate one. Maybe Jesus didn't really exist. That's a whole nother topic. Yes, the man existed, but people could have lied about him. And if somebody lied about him, don't mean he didn't exist. Anyway, we're told that he is born, in a special way, but that he has to kind of mature into it, and that he doesn't fully step into his ministry until he's baptized by John the Baptist. Right? And he's about 30 years old when he's baptized by John the Baptist. And then the voice comes booming out of the sky. This is my son in whom I'm well pleased. And then his official ministry starts. And then he has like 3 years before he's crucified. All right, I have a question here from Kalisha. I'm a 32-year-old former educator and current school psychology intern. I'm taking much interest in God, religion, and hoodoo. It's like I'm experiencing things, but it's also like, is this all real? Like I pinch myself. Yes, it's real. Kalisha, she's asking, is it real? It's real. Now, I can say that, right? But I don't know exactly what you mean by the word real. Because when we talk about matters of spirituality, what measuring stick are you using? if you're currently in psychology, psychology is a social science, and they like to measure things, right? And they like to run social experiments and be able to quantify things. So you do certain kind of right, you do certain kinds of research, and you want research-based kind of answers, and that makes things real. Well, when we're talking about spirituality, those tools don't apply. So you have to kind of do a mindset shift and say, we're not talking about science per se. I mean, if you're talking about hoodoo, we can talk scientifically because that's basically chemistry, biology, and pharmacology, right? As agriculture, because a good amount of hoodoo is how to use these plants to create medicine. So that's very scientific. We can also talk about the quantum field, which we get from quantum physics, right? And we can talk about the nature of things. The nature of reality is there's nothing physical. The things that we thought were matter, were hard physical matter, are not. Everything is energy and motion. Quantum physics confirms that. Most everything that we see is made up of empty space. Everything is energy and motion. Okay, so underneath a lot of this metaphysics, the scientific method has come along and finally proved it. So again, I ask you, Kalisha, I mean, keep in mind that you probably are trying to measure the God experiences by scientific tools or scientific rational mindset. But that's not what we use when we're talking about spirituality and God. That's not what we use. We use our intuition. Where's the card? I don't know if you were here when I first started. I opened up these sessions with a collective reading. Y'all see how the collective works? These are collective readings so that when people come, you see, it's magic. Okay. What do we need to use when we're talking about spirituality and God? We have to use our intuitive faculties. So, therefore, we're using a different measuring stick, a different litmus test. But what you can do is do that observation of signs and synchronicities in your own life and see if this keeps showing up as a pattern, then it is real. Because what's real? Which is the question I throw back to you as a religion humanities scholar, right? Because I have a lot of friends who are in psychology and we go back and forth all the time. And they tell me about we're social scientists. And so when we go out for a meal or something and it comes time, they want to split the bill. I'm always like, split it in half. I don't want to do all that math. They want to do all the math. I go, well, fine. Okay, social scientists, do the math then. Do the statistics. I don't need to do all that. Prayers being answered when I go to my great-great-grandfather's church cemetery. Yeah, and acknowledge them, acknowledge our ancestors because they don't go anywhere. They don't go away. Because there is no away. All is one. This universe is so amazing that everything exists all at once. And so, somebody could say, well, oh, was it coincidence? Well, I'll call it a synchronicity. I'll call it a gift from the divine. I'll say it's a gift from my great-great-grandfather then. You can call it something else if you want to. By any, or what is it? A rose by any other name smells as sweet. But so, Kalisa, don't let it hang you up. If you're having those experiences, allow them in. Because I also said earlier, and I wanted people to put in the chat, what is it, or when did you get interested in the spiritual path? And was there a particular thing that happened, if you can remember? Was there a particular thing that happened that made you start really having maybe God questions or spirituality questions? Were you experiencing something in your life that just got your attention? Like, whoa, what was that? And then you were off and running. Maybe somebody introduced you to a book or somebody introduced you to a particular teaching. And then you were like, wow. And ever since then, I've been on this path of my own spiritual awakening. I think I've been on it my entire life. I don't remember a time when I wasn't. When I was a little kid, before I could even read, I used to walk around with my grandmother's Bible. She had one of those big old Bibles, if y'all remember, those big, you know, with white Jesus on the cover. And I used to walk around when I go to her house, which was a lot. I would walk around with that book and I would say, I'm going to read this book. And I can remember that. And so one of my spiritual mentors, he says, that's because you were coming back. You were remembering from your previous life, previous existence. Um, and you just needed to pick up kind of where you left off. And that Bible represented, oh, I'm somewhat familiar with, it's my key back to spirituality. And then over time, because then I was a library kid, always in the library reading spiritual books, picking up what would seem like the weirdest, most random book, the most highly elevated book on some very philosophical, metaphysical something. And I was like 10 and could barely understand what I was reading, but I was reading it anyway. And so my life has been all the way like that. I tried to have a different career. Michelle, do you remember what my first career is? Are you still on here? Do you remember? I just left Egypt and I remember the shape of Egypt being in the back of the Bible. It was a map. Yep. Yep. I remember those kind of pictures. Some of them were color plate pictures. Yep. I was obsessed with it. Well, I don't know if he's still on here, but my first career was in fashion. And so I moved to New York. I was, after my undergrad education in Ohio, I moved to New York and I worked in fashion. Now, mind you, from the time I was a child all the way up to college, I was studying religion and spirituality just for fun and games. I just was interested in it. It was my passion. It was my passion. But along comes the practical thinking mother who says, well, you can't go to school for anything. You got to, of course, get a good job. So you need to go to, you need to do something practical. So I was like, well, I want to major in fashion. She goes, well, then you can't go to one of these little art schools. You're going to go to a 4-year school and get a degree in business, and then you can do what you want. So I majored in fashion merchandising. And it wasn't too many years after that. Let me see. I graduated. I worked in fashion, moved to New York for 4 years? And I moved back to Ohio. So I'm adding up maybe 6 years total. Maybe 6 years total in fashion. But the last probably 2 years, I was propelled by my passion. That's why I asked y'all the question. Do you remember when you woke up? When you had an inkling that you're supposed to go in one direction or another direction? And I tried to put it away and act like, no, I don't want to do that. And so I went and majored in something else. I moved to New York. I was working in fashion and I was doing pretty good. My idea was I was going to be an executive in the fashion industry, and I was in manufacturing. I worked for Liz Claiborne and Ralph Lauren. And then I left New York, moved back to Ohio, worked for the Limited. They still are headquartered in Columbus. And I was miserable. Can I tell you the misery? Y'all saw The Devil Wears Prada. The Devil Wears Prada, that was my nightmare. Because guess what was tapping me on the shoulder all the time? That same higher self now who gives me the shopping carts, that girl. She was like, I don't know what you think you're doing. And so if you hadn't thought about it before, think about, how'd you get on this path? And are you willing to do what it takes to spiritually awaken? Are you on the path of your own awakening? I mean, we all are, slow or fast. We all are on our path of awakening. But when you are aware that it is a path of awakening, you are that much further along. If you're still like, none of this makes any sense to you, you don't have any interest at all, because there are still some people that don't have any interest at all, right? There are people who are like, oh, I don't think there's anything else. You just live, die, and then that's it. You're in the ground, and that's it. materialist. And I'm like, how are you a materialist when quantum physics already tells us that this is not even anything? This really does just disintegrate. That's it? Then what animates it? There's something that animates it. Oh, brain chemistry. All right, have it your way. You don't argue with people. Have it your way. One of these lifetimes, you're going to wake up, right? Somebody's going to visit you with a little something. Morpheus is going to knock on your door in that Neo moment and wake you up. All right. Well, I said I was not going to keep y'all. I've been on here, what? Oh, just now an hour. So if anybody, people ask me about consults and coaching. So I do take a few people in terms of consult. You need to get your mind right. Do you need to get your mind right? Do you need to be on your path of your spiritual awakening? Then email me, Dr. Darnise at DrDarniseMartin.com. I'll put it in the description. I guess I could put it in the chat like I'm in class. And you could, reach out to me there. I'll let you know what I have available. I do have my Patreon that I have started again. So already I have some people over there who are joining. I appreciate you if you're here, if you're joining me on Patreon, because I want to, continue to have more things over on Patreon, going more deeply. Like I only read a couple things from this right here, but when you're really trying to overcome these negative thoughts, it's more than just a notion, right? And so I go deeper is what I'm trying to say on Patreon. So, or at least I think I'm going deeper. It just depends on if people are participating back, because that's how I get to go deeper. If people are participating with me, then I know how to go deeper. Otherwise, I'll just be over there talking to myself. So, which is also want to do live streams instead of just uploading videos, because then I get feedback from y'all and it's more cooler, I think. So that's it. I will see y'all, I think next Sunday. I plan to do it at least 2 Sundays a month. Up to now, I've been doing it every Sunday recently, but it may come where I might miss a Sunday. But if you're on my newsletter list, you'll get word. I'll put all that in the description box about how you get on my newsletter list, how you stay in touch. If you want to consult, Dr. Darnise at DrDarniseMartin.com. Thank you for joining, Kalicia and Sacred Cycles. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And whoever else is still here, I don't see you. Thanks to everybody. Hearts from me. All right, bye.